Good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another segment of Real Talk Tuesday. I'm your host, Brittany Stevenson, and I will be facilitating tonight's conversation. I got half of my crew here with me because our guys are MIA tonight. So right now, we just have Miss Miosha Crippen and Miss Brianna Branch. And we are pleased to have back with us Mrs. Amaris Watson Gale, founder of Prackind, the wellness group. Thank you for joining us again, girl.
Yes.
You look good, y'all. Amaris just had a baby, and she's giving all kinds of life and love.
Baby. Yes.
She just had a baby, so she is giving. So we are thankful that she decided that she was, found it not robbery to join us tonight. So thank you, Amaris, for being here with us tonight.
Yes.
So viewer discretion is advised for this segment of Real Talk Tuesday, and I'm going to tell you why in a few seconds. But I'm going to tell you why now. So we will be talking about suicide. Dun, dun, dun. Suicide tends to be a very taboo topic in any community, but especially in our community, and it's something that we wanted to discuss, seeing that it is May is Mental Health Month. So obviously, lack of mental wellness tends to lead by death by suicide. So that's why we wanted to bring this topic up and shed some light on it and get some help and some wellness towards it. So without further ado, Miss Amaris Watson Gale, what is suicide?
I'll answer you, but before I do, I just want the audience and the listeners to know that everything I talk about is for informational purposes only. It's not intended to be mental health advice or medical advice. So to answer your question, Brittany, suicide is the intentional act of taking one's life. It's the behavior of ending one's existence. And like everything, it is preceded by a thought. And I'm sorry.
This is real. This is live. So
Brandon just had to have a house phone. That is me.
So it would want a house phone.
Huh?
He would want a house phone.
Yeah, he just had to have his house phone, and it's I can't mute it. Okay, there it goes. All right. Sorry about that. So
You're
fine. So the act is in one's life, and it's preceded by a thought. And so the thought is the thoughts are broken down into two parts. So you're either passive suicidal or have passive suicidal thoughts, or actively suicidal, or you have active suicidal thoughts. So passive and active. So passive is if, just to make it practical, so is if someone does not have the motivation to live. So you might hear someone say, I don't want to be here anymore, or I wish I would go to sleep and not wake up, or I wish I want to disappear. Things like that. Those are passive ideas and thoughts. Then you have the actively suicidal thoughts, the active thoughts, which is it's very serious. So it's an indication that someone needs to be hospitalized or have mental health treatment immediately. So that's accompanied by usually an intent. So the lack of motivation, they don't want to live, a plan to harm themselves, and then a means to do it. So it would be someone who wants to die. Okay, how do you want to die? Well, I want to shoot myself. Okay, do you have something to do that? Yes, it's upstairs. So they have the plan, the means, the intents, and that's an emergency.
Okay. Thank you for, and so the reason why I asked that is because people will probably say, oh, well, that, everybody knows what it is. They may not. You may not have. You may hear the term, but to give a good clinical definition to it is what is needed. So just a few facts about suicide in the United States. Suicide is the 11th leading cause of death in the United States. And these, and then in 2021, because this is the statistics that are the most current, 48,183 Americans died by suicide. And in that same year, 1.70 million Americans had a suicidal attempt, meaning they attempted it and, thankfully it didn't work. So that is the reason why we felt like this topic was prevalent, because with all of, our strides, you seeing more mental awareness and mental health, there are still people who are struggling and are attempting and are completing the act of suicide. So this is a question for the group. What do you, and then Amaris, will come to you last because, you have the clinical background, so we'll come to you last. But for the group, what do you think are some possible causes of why a person would want to die by suicide, commit the act?
Well, I would say I think a lot of the times, like the financial burden, and people just feel like that they don't have any other way out. And a lot of the times people are really concerned about what other people are going to think about them more so than anything. Like, people are going to think about me different if they find out that I can't live up to this expectation. And, they just don't really know how to cope with things because they're so concerned about, what other people's thoughts are. And it's an unfortunate situation.
Okay. Brianna?
I would agree. I'd say more broadly stress in general. If there's any sort of stressor in your life that you're struggling with, you don't know how to cope with it, I feel like a cause might just be you think you want it all to stop, and a permanent stop is suicide. And in that moment, you may think it's your best and only option, I guess. And so not knowing how to cope with the things going on in your life.
And so it was nice that Brianna mentioned stress. Stress was the topic that we spoke about last month in April. So it was a segue to tonight's topic. Miss Watson Gale, clinical.
Yeah. So possible causes of suicide. So one is hopelessness. So a deep sense of hopelessness. So believing that things won't get better or they can't get better for you personally. Another cause is feeling overwhelmed or feeling burdened or feeling trapped, right? Or experiencing unbearable pain where you feel like Miosha said, there's just no way out. This is the only option for me. So those are potential causes. And we know that certain factors put people at a higher risk for dying by suicide. And a few of those are previous suicide attempts, being isolated, so not having a strong support system or a sense of community or a place where they belong. Also having issues with finances and chronic illness. So those are things that place people at a greater risk. Also a previous mental health diagnosis, and particularly depression, severe depression. And then you have risk factors. You also have protective factors, right? So that helps lower the risk if you had these. So the sense of community, spiritual beliefs are something to keep you grounded. If you're, engaged in mental health counseling and things like that.
Okay. It was good that you said depression because my therapist said in a conversation that she and I were randomly having about something, and she said that suicide was the final symptom of depression. Like when you have a person that is so severely depressed, suicide tends to be that final act of that depression. And unfortunately, at that time, if the suicide has been completed, it's too late. But that I thought that was a good way to segue into that. So, what are some signs that we can look for in a person around us that that might be a person that might be contemplating or have attempted suicide? What are some what does that look like? How do because, and the reason why I asked this question is because you see people and they're seemingly so happy and they're living their best life, and you would think, they don't have a care in the world, but then the next minute you look up and they're gone, and that's how, and they chose that. So what are some things that people can look for in a person to be more vigilant, as far as a person that is, contemplating suicide?
Yeah, so a few things. So one, they express they express that they no longer have a reason to live, and you notice that they're preoccupied with the idea of death or dying. They're talking about killing themselves, right? That's one of the obvious ones. Purchasing, you notice that they're purchasing lethal weapons or pills or things that seem out of the norm for them. Other signs are changes in their normal routine. So changes in their sleep, changes in their appetite. If you know somebody, they're an outgoing person and they're used to being out every day, and then you check up on them or you talk to them and you notice that they're asleep and in the bed for, days on top of, other things that may be at play, that could be a warning sign. Also, isolation. So feeling alone. A lot of times people are surrounded by people and feel that deep sense of loneliness. That's not often picked up on. So feeling alone, not having connection to other people. Those are the few of the signs.
Okay. So what do we, as people, as friends, as family members, what do we do if you believe, what do you do if you believe a loved one or a friend or a family member or even anybody that you know is contemplating it? How do you go about reaching that person, to make sure that act isn't done?
So you definitely want to take it seriously each and every time, especially if somebody has expressions or you have reason to believe that they're not okay. You want to take it seriously, no matter how many times it happens. I know a lot of times, you might hear somebody say, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. They might say it 100 times in, 30 days, but you want to take that seriously and you want to be present and supportive with them and help, guide them towards adequate treatment and adequate support, mental health support. So you don't want to judge them, right? You don't want to attack or criticize or, blame or ask them why they feel this way or go into saying, you have no reason to feel this way. You don't want to do any of that. You just want to be a positive, present support. And so a few things you can do or a few places you can call or go to. So one, of course, is the nearest ER, right? And then the other places that you can call, there are hotlines available. So 988 is one, the National Crisis Hotline. That's another one. And there's a third one, the National Crisis Hotline. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So those are places that are open 24/7 that you can call, and you can sit with them and call and say, hey, if they don't want to sit with you, you can say, hey, a friend of mine, I believe they want to harm themselves, or I believe that they might do something to themselves. What can I do? And they'll guide you through how to best support them. But if you can, do it with them.
Okay. So I guess my next question is, does that look different in adults than it does in the youth, in a teen? Or is it pretty much the same kind of habits to look for?
It's the same. It's the same. So with teens is, you might throw in the overuse of social media. They might engage in, and this is for adults and teens, increased substance use, or someone might engage in risky or self-destructive behavior, just abnormal behavior with the purpose of harming themselves. Another thing to look out for is if someone starts to say their goodbyes, right? Or they start to give away valuable items. Yeah. Okay. Without explanation.
Okay. So, and again, we want to throw this out there. We know that this topic is very heavy and it's not something that people like to discuss, but because of its frequency in today's time, we thought it was relevant. So, what are some things that we can do, since this is Mental Health Awareness Month, what are some things that we can do to cultivate mental wellness so that we don't get to this is, trying to end things on a light note. What are some things we can do to cultivate mental wellness? And I want Amaris to chime in, obviously, but I want Brianna and Miyoshi to chime in. What are some things that you do to cultivate mental wellness? Just to stay away from that side of the spectrum. Me personally, I'm a music person. Just telling a little bit about myself, we all have those thoughts. We all have, not those thoughts, but we all have dark thoughts. Sometimes, stressful thoughts, mind clutter and things like that. So music, I turn into Beyonce, turn up my music and I give a concert. It's giving Renaissance tour and my own. You're not gonna break my soul, so. That's something that I do to call, and music, music speaks when I can't, it's a song. Sometimes you get a song and it's just like, you know what, that song is fire. That, you hear the beat, the song is fire, but then the words that speak to you. So music is something that I turn to when the negative thoughts or defeated thoughts come, and that helps cultivate mental wellness. And something else that I do, this is a guilty pleasure. It's the browse, it's the Amazon shopping for me. Not necessarily to purchase it, but just the idea of putting it in my cart. It's just like it gives a little bit of dopamine. It's just like, yeah, somebody get all this stuff. Knowing I'm not gonna push pay, but it's just that cultivates. It just
go back and save it for later.
Yeah, I mean, look, I got stuff in my cart from literally like the pandemic and like the start of the pandemic in 2020. So now some of it is no longer even available. But it's just the thought and the idea of spending money and getting something that you want, or the idea of getting it, even if you don't get it. Those things help me cultivate mental wellness. Brianna.
I was also going to say music. Music is really big for me. It's how I clear my mental headspace a lot. A good song with some good lyrics that I feel like actually speak to me in some way can do wonders, really. Also, like how people be asking you, like, who's the realest on your team? Besides God, right? Besides him, it's me for real. So even when I'm in like a bad mood or whatever, like there's still some part of me that I think can like pull it together a little bit. And sometimes I'll just sit and I'll like talk with myself and I'll be like, all right, girl, so you and me, we got to work this out right now because it's becoming a bit too much, sis. And I'll sit and have conversations with myself, and that seems to help. And myself isn't cutting it. Like, there's always prayer, and, there's always mom on speed dial. Like, I was thinking this. Let's talk about it, please. And she's always good there, too. So a good sense of community, which I think we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, definitely. Good sense of community is definitely a blessing.
With the mental wellness of it all.
Miosha?
I agree. So I do agree definitely about the sense of community. And I think that when the pandemic happened, that took away something that people really needed. And, I didn't have any personal experiences with suicide, but, my coworker committed suicide during the pandemic. And he actually had went to work, or I don't know if they were like doing something in the office, and he had went and did it that same morning, right? And then that evening is when he committed suicide. And they, my coworkers that were in the office, they said that they didn't notice anything different. And it's just an unfortunate situation, because when we were in the office, like, we would talk about things all the time. Like, I feel like my mental health is solid, right? So people always feel like they can talk to me. And I would talk to him about certain things. And, when you take that sense of community away, and sometimes people don't feel like they have any way to vent. When it happened, I was just floored. I was completely floored. And it was just like, I don't know if I could go back and work in this office. You know what I mean? When somebody so close to you, passes away, and you have to pass their desk and everything, right? And I always preach about the importance of making sure that you have a healthy mental health, doing things that makes you happy, because they go together, right? I feel like when you're happy, most of the time, things don't always have to work out, right?
Yeah.
But if you have the mindset, like, I can get over this, I can get through this, then it just makes so much of a difference. So I do things that I enjoy. I spend time with my family. I spend time with my friends. I go on vacations. I go on vacation by myself so that I can make sure that my mental health is supported. Because if you don't have anything to give anybody else, then what you doing? Right? So I think that that's important.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's good. And also taking care of your whole body. So your physical body and your spirit and your mind, since they all, interact with each other, helps to foster, good mental health. So staying active, drinking your water, going to the doctor, getting enough sleep, that can do wonders, and sleep and mental health are closely related, right? So if you're not getting enough sleep, your mental health is going to be impacted, and people who have mental health issues or concerns generally don't sleep. So they kind of challenge sleep, and they feed off of one another. But another thing I think we should all do is we should all, for ourselves, know and acknowledge the impact that our experiences and our environment have on us.
Mm-hmm.
So work to develop or foster our own, relationship with our mental health, like you all do. So, develop a sense of self-awareness, right? So you want to recognize changes in yourself and changes in your own mood. You want to learn and identify your unique triggers to, emotions that, you don't want to experience or that make you uncomfortable or that are negative for you. So triggers that could be memories, places, words, songs, whatever. So you want to recognize changes, you want to learn your own triggers, and you also want to have coping skills on deck, right? And coping skills are just ways that you deal with or cope with, ways, strategy skills you deal with or cope with life stressors and emotions. So they can be problem focused, they can be emotion focused, like, Brittany mentioned, the creative expression piece. It can be social support, like Brianna mentioned. And then a lot of people, especially in our community, cope with utilizing their faith in their spiritual and religion.
Yes,
So
indeed.
just making sure you have those coping skills on deck and not being afraid to, express your feelings and talk to someone within the context of a safe space, because every space is not
Absolutely.
safe. You want to
True.
make sure that if you are expressing yourself, is safety present. And of course, talking with a mental health professional, a licensed one, could be beneficial as well. But I know everybody's not at that, stage. So if you're not there, you don't want to talk to somebody. Those are the other things that you can do.
Yes, absolutely. Amaris, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming and having to talk about such a heavy topic.
We
normally
love
we try
having
to
you.
keep it. We do love having Amaris with us. We try to
We
keep it
don't
light
see
and
you
fluffy. But this was relevant, because, Emilsha,
Very.
I'm so sorry to hear about your coworker. I mean, I feel like, everybody knows someone that's been impacted by suicide, and it's for some reason it's still such a taboo topic, and it's something that people don't want to talk about. They want to ignore it, but you can't, because people are sad, and people are leaving here, by way of suicide each and every day. And if you can be the listening ear or the helping hand or just the person sitting next to someone, just offering some sort of community or support, that is, you could save a life. And so that's the reason why we wanted to have this conversation. So thank you, ladies, for, talking with me about something that, we don't like to talk about. Thank you, Amaris, for being here with us.
Very much
We are
so.
going to be putting
Thank you.
and yes, again, like Amaris, literally, she's like, just a month postpartum. So, she
It look
bounced
good,
back. The
sis.
bounce
You
back
look
is
good.
giving.
Thank you,
Still
girl.
going.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
the bounce back
Still
is bouncing
going.
back. She has 2 beautiful baby girls now, and we are so happy. Thank you for joining us. But it's Real Talk Tuesday, so we always try to leave with something mindful, mind bending. So this is a really light question. So we're talking about mental wellness. And Miosha mentioned, she likes to vacate. Miosha is our resident vacationer, if that's a word. So my question, she always outside. She outside.
I just came back from
some
Nova.
people say they
It was
outside, but they
fun.
ain't that outside. So my question to you ladies is, if you could pick one place to go, all expenses paid, that means first class round trip ticket, room and board, and even some spending money. It's all expenses paid, and you can go for 10 days. Where would you go? And you can take one person, and who would you take? So for me, I would go to Paris. I have always wanted to go to Paris. Like, there's a show on Netflix called Emily in Paris, and
It's so good.
love Emily in Paris.
I like Emily in Paris. You want to
She
go to
always
Paris?
dresses so cute.
Love her, like her fits just give, like everything about that
Love
show
her.
gives me life. So I want to be Brittany in Paris. So I would go to Paris. I would take my cousin Taryn, because I feel like, everybody, that's my favorite cousin, and I feel like we would just have a vibe.
What about your other cousin?
They be all right. They can go later.
I'm weak.
They can go later. So Brittany would be Brittany in Paris. I would be Brittany in Paris. I would go for 10 days. And I mean, and another reason why I feel like I've always loved, France and the culture is because I've been taking French ever since I was in like 7th grade. And, I just had a love for it. Just like, the language, and I just felt like the accent was so sexy, the language was so loving, and it just seems like a vibe, like, you know, just learning about different things. Even their lunch hour, they have like 2-hour lunches, and it's just so chill. It just seems like everybody's just living their best life. So I just want to go to Paris. So, and I'm going to go. But if I can go, I'm going to speak it, you know, pay for that. So you're going to do that.
How do they respond to Americans? How do they treat Americans?
It doesn't even matter because I'm going. I'm going to just be myself. I'm Brittany in Paris. I don't care what they do. As long as they don't put their hands on me, I don't even care. So
you ought to care. You should care.
I'll have to do some research. But I mean, I feel like Paris is touristy enough to the point where they've seen enough Americans to the point where they know. But yes,
enough Americans, but they ain't seen enough Black Americans.
Well, they get ready to see me. So yes, period. That's where I will go. So who wants to share next?
I can go.
Okay.
Brianna thinks that I think I would go to Spain. Okay.
Ooh.
Now let's get into why.
Let's get into why.
Let's get into it with 5% left.
When Brianna was a younger youth than the youth that she is now,
girl,
she loved the Cheetah Girls, right?
Oh my God.
And them girls went to Spain. I know every single song in that movie by heart. I'm in the process of relearning the dance moves. I'm gonna go to Spain and have me a good time.
Live your life.
I'm gonna go find the spaces that they shot the movie so I can have my Cheetah Girl.
She wants a nostalgic tour of Spain.
So I can strut through the streets of Barcelona.
Strut through the streets of Barcelona.
With my passion for fashion.
Yes.
Life is poetry. Okay.
Baby.
The fact that she has named like 4 songs in her answer is really tickling me.
It's
giving. She's having a nostalgic moment.
And I'm gonna have the time of my life. And of course that means that I have to bring a friend who has also seen Cheetah Girls and who is willing to reenact scenes with me.
You have to, because why would they not?
Because why would they not? And I think I would have a great time. Plus, like, you can visit lots of places while you're down there. It's so pretty.
Oh yeah, I think Spain is beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So pretty.
Very rich in culture.
I agree.
Amaris or Miosha?
I would do, I know y'all are going out the country, but I would stay in the country. I would do Disneyland in California, and I would take Big Sister Grace.
Okay.
I know, Miosha, I love it.
Chris, I just gave you a round trip, free trip to anywhere in the world, and I
don't want to go out the country. I can't leave my babies. I cannot leave Paris. I can't. You said one person. I'm dragging Grace. And that's it. We stand in the country. Even California is far.
Oh, I think she did it kind of well, too. You said she got 10 days. It's all expensive. Hey, California's expensive. You might have done something. You might have
Cali is expensive. Like, I mean, yeah. But still, Amaris, I literally just gave you a golden goose, and you just literally threw it in my face.
She's such a mom. She is such a mom. That's precious.
And even then, that would be hard. That would be hard. But I know that, I'd be able to cope knowing that Grace is having a good time.
I feel like Grace would go and be like, no, mommy, ready to go home.
She probably would go and be asking for Cocomelon at Disneyland. So,
oh my God.
You're probably right.
Now let's hear where Miosha wants to go, because Miosha's done been everywhere. So where are you going?
I know.
There's definitely.
Are you talking to the moon or not?
There is. I want to go to the motherland. Like, I want to go to the motherland, and I just want to experience different cultures. And I feel like I always felt like we were robbed of that. And it wasn't until I went to college and I met so many people from, Africa, and I was just like, I just felt like we were robbed of, our own culture. So, and it's like, I can't even relate to things that they're talking about, food that, people eat. And it's just like, I just want to go to the motherland and just go to different countries and just explore and do different things and go on the African safari. And I wouldn't take anybody. I would just go by myself because I wouldn't want to be rushed. I don't want to be on anybody else's schedule. I want to do whatever I want to do. And that's what I would do.
I dig that though, because I want to go to Egypt. I've always wanted to go there.
Yes. Come on.
There's just so many beautiful places in Africa. I get it, but I'm still going to Paris. I'm still Brittany in Paris. And the fact that she's not taking anybody, y'all, that is hectic. But you know what? It's her trip. I give it to her. She's running with her. That means she's running with her golden egg. You know, she's taking the egg and she's going by herself. I'm not mad at her. Just be safe, Miosha, and don't do too many safaris because you know them lions, tigers, and bears is real. Amen.
We and the bears.
Maybe 40. That might be what I do for 40.
Okay, girl. Well. Again, thank all of you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Thank you, Amaris, for sharing your wisdom with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you all so much. Reverend Gale and Reverend Watson, we missed you tonight, but we will see you next. We did. I feel like
we held y'all down, though.
We did hold you down, though. This for the ladies. It's giving who runs the world.
Girls are going to do it every time.
He said not with girls. He thought they would be too noisy.
You said what?
I told him. I said you should come on, but he said not with the girls. He thought that they would be too noisy.
They're kids. This is real talk. Real kids. Real talk. You know. But it's okay. You know, we held it down for them until next month. So thank you all again for joining us. Hopefully, you know, something was, you know, this conversation was, while it was heavy, hopefully it was informative. We are providing some resources at the end of this segment for, you know, for you or for anyone that you may know that may be struggling. And we are praying for you. We love you. And we hope to see you next time. Peace.
Very good. Bye, everybody.